Hey guys, this is John with CheatSheetPros.com. Today's October 8th, Friday morning. We're going to take a look at some college football games for the week. Hopefully you saw the article we put out on the website. We put out 3 plays earlier this week, and you can see it right here. CheatSheetPros.com sports betting picks for week 6. We had 3 plays. They're right here. Coastal Carolina that played last night, and then Georgia, and then looking at a play on Florida first half for the main 3 that we released. And then in this video, we're going to look at about 10 more games and just kind of talk about them and see what you guys think. The first thing I want to do is show you the Coastal game in the sheet. So that was one of our favorite plays, and I apologize for getting this video out late. Typically, Wednesday, Thursday, I try to get the video up, but I've had a head cold. My son's had 2 baseball games this week, wrapping up the fall ball season, and I felt like crap, so it's been a rough week. So Coastal Carolina, Arkansas State, this line opened at Coastal minus 19, moved to 20. PFF had it at about 28. We had it at 26, and then even our cheat line over here had it at 24. So all 3 were past the line, so it's a game that we really liked. Be real careful with the cheat line in college football because this played strength of schedule is playing a large factor in it. The plus minus here was night and day. We had plus 33. And then Arkansas State's minus 21, so a 50-point difference in games. And then down here, you'll notice this on the sheet this week. There's a SOS skew test, so played strength of schedule. So I've noticed that the played strength of schedule on significantly different teams is skewing the yardages. So I'm working on just a little test box down here to play with. So this would have projected it at 66 to 24. Cheat line had it 48-24. The final was 52-20. So the cheat line wasn't too far off. 52-20, 48-24. We're kind of in that realm. But that was a game that we really liked. Also had some prize picks hits on there with the Coastal running back. The other game, Houston Tulane. I didn't do anything on it last night. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next play, and that is Georgia and Auburn, and Georgia is on the road. Georgia-Auburn. So this opened at 15.5, I think is what ESPN's showing. PFF has it at 17. We have it at 16. The cheat line you got to be careful with based on yardages, and one thing we notice here is a significant played strength of schedule. Georgia has played the 15th hardest, and Auburn the 99th. I don't think that's super accurate, but anyways, Georgia's only allowed like 23 points all season. These are the point-wise sheets that I always go through, and I kind of dig in, and we're going to look at games. One of the good things about this is it shows every college football team, schedule, line, what it closed at. So we're going to look at Georgia real quick because I heard a stat on TV last week, and it blew my mind. So they beat Arkansas 37-0. They beat Vanderbilt 62-0, which Vandy's not very good. They beat South Carolina 40-13 and UAB 56-7. So they've only given up 23 points all year. So that's phenomenal. And then we're going to come in here and they're going to face Auburn, which if Arkansas can't score, I doubt Auburn's going to put up very many points. And where did they go? Auburn. So Auburn beat Akron. Alabama State, those are no-nothing teams. Penn State's good. They lost 28-20. Georgia State, they came in as a 27.5-point favorite and won the game 34-24, but they got that touchdown at the end, so they barely got away from Georgia State. I don't know what happened there. And then LSU, 24-19, played a tight game, but Georgia's in a whole nother class. So one of the bets I did is I put a 3-team 10-point teaser. I took Coastal, took them from 19.5 down to 9.5 because I knew that was pretty much a lock. And then one of the games I have is Georgia. I took from 15.5 down to 5.5. And then I put a third game on there. I can't remember what the heck it was off the top of my head, but one of our plays is Georgia minus 15.5. We like it to get over that. When both of these, the PFF and the algo line, are on the same side, those games have been hitting quite a bit. So those are the ones that have kind of put up a little flag for me to watch and pay attention to. Over here in our cheat line, we've got it 25-17, but again, significant strengths of schedules. Auburn blew out 2 no-nothing teams, so their yardages are going to be heavily skewed. and they haven't faced a defense like Georgia. So Georgia is one of our plays that we like. The other one is Florida and Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt's one of the worst teams. Vanderbilt, Florida. So this line is ridiculous. It's like 38, 39, somewhere around there. PFF has it at 30. We have it at 43. And then our skew test over here, you can see the strength of schedules that we've pulled in last week. We have it at 37 under our skew test. So the line's probably pretty close to what the final is going to be. You know, Florida's going to win somewhere between 30 and 40. Let's go take a look at Vanderbilt real quick. We're leaning on a first half play here. I think they're going to come out and wreak havoc. So Vanderbilt barely beat UConn as a 14.5 point favorite, 30-28. I think that's the game they kicked the last second field goal. Then they lost 62-0 to Georgia. Stanford, they got beat 41-23. Colorado State, they actually won. And then Eastern Tennessee State beat them in the opener 23-3. So I don't know how the hell that happens, but it did. And then we got Florida.
Whoa. Every week, millions of fantasy football players.
Oh, hang on. ESPN's ads kicking on. Okay, hopefully it went off. Florida, where did you go? So Florida, they beat South Florida 42-20. Alabama, they actually hung with Alabama, which was shocking, 31-29. And Alabama looks like one of the top two teams in the land. Tennessee, they absolutely rolled 38-14. And then they had a tough game against Kentucky last week. And I don't think a lot of people are really going to bet Florida because they're going to look last week and say, hey, they were a 7.5 point favorite and they lost 20-13. But if you look at this game, here, let me go show you the game stats. Oh, I got a headache and this thing's making my eyes hurt looking at it. Okay, here we are. Florida, Kentucky. So if we look at this game, so Kentucky won 20-13, but Florida outgained them in first downs 21-13, and then total yardage 382-224, and each team had one turnover. So they outgained them significantly in yards, first downs. So by all means, I think Florida, after that crushing loss and then last week, they're going to come out ready to rock and roll. The first half line, I haven't seen it. My book didn't have it posted yesterday when I was writing up the games I wanted to look at. But if it's 38, it's probably going to be 24, somewhere around in there. So that's the other third big play that I like. And I went through PFF this morning and looked at some of the games that have significant cash on the side. And those are the ones I wanted to run through and take another look at in the sheet. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those real quick. Let me close this out. So our three plays for the week were Coastal Carolina, which played last night. Hopefully you saw the article and got that play. We love Georgia. And then Florida first half are the three big ones that I've bet so far. Some of the other games that have significant money on them and or that we like, we're going to take a look at 9 of them is what I have marked down here. So one is Toledo and Northern Illinois. So let me see who the home team is. And I probably should have wrote this down. I apologize, I did not. Okay, Northern Illinois is on the road. So we got Northern Illinois and Toledo. So this is one game that had a significant amount of money on Toledo, so I wanted to pull it up and take a look. Strength of schedules, they're both in the bottom 50. So nothing really big there. Plus minus Northern Illinois is minus 13. Toledo's plus 7. We look at it. PFF has Toledo 7. We have 12. Cheat line has Toledo by 13. So we're kind of in, I think the spread on this one's like 10, 10.5. I don't mind it. Northern Illinois, they don't rank very well at all. Toledo's been doing a little bit better. So right now I would lean Toledo here. I want to go take a look at their game logs and see kind of who they've played and how they've done. And there's the T's. TOTU. All right, Toledo. So Toledo's down here. So we're going to take a look at them and see how they've been doing. So they lost to Colorado State as a 15-point favorite. They beat Ball State by 10, and then they crushed UMass. So nothing super impressive. UMass is awful. Colorado State, they were favored 2 touchdowns and went down. So a lot of money on Toledo. I don't mind it. I'm probably not going to play it, but Northern Illinois and Toledo, the defense, giving up 451 versus 300 yards. That's a significant difference. And then we have a yardage gap here, which you can see of about 205 yards. So we're projecting Toledo to have a 205 yard advantage. And with an average yard per point of 15.5, that's going to put you about 12, 13 points. And I think the spread on this is 12.5. So I think it's a good line. Don't mind Toledo, but again, it's not one that I'm going to bet. Next one I want to look at moving on is South Carolina at Tennessee. So South Carolina at Tennessee. This game is Tennessee minus 10.5 playing at home. PFF, their lines are usually pretty low, so they've got it at a pretty tight game. We've got it, the algo line at Tennessee minus 13, so we got it, 2.5 points over. Not great, but it is something, to take a look at. Offensive yardage, what jumps out at me over here is Tennessee's putting up 487 a game, which is 104 over the average. And then South Carolina is 299, which is 85 below the average. So we have a significant offensive boost for Tennessee. Defensively, both about the same, 344, 379. We're just going to say, hey, this is similarly about the same. So this is a game that I would have interest in, and I want to go take a look and see. So skew line down here, we got it as high as 19. So South Carolina, we kind of know what they've done, but Tennessee is one I'm not real familiar with, so let's take a look at them. Tennessee came out last week, so they're getting hot. They were a 2.5 point dog at Missouri. I know one of the Price Picks plays that I talked about in the chat was the Tennessee running back who exploded against MU, 62-24. And then Florida is turning out to be a really tough team. They lost 38-14. And then they beat Tennessee Tech, which is a nobody, 56-0. So they're running hot after that game last week. And then South Carolina, let's go ahead and take a look at them. There's South Alabama, not to be confused with South Carolina. So South Carolina up here, they beat Troy 23-13. Kentucky, they lost 16-10. Georgia, 40-13. East Carolina, 2017. So they've played some tight games. Tennessee's running hot, so I like Tennessee there. Even if you wanted to tease that, put it on a 10-pointer, take it down to Tennessee just to win the game outright. I think you'd be good there just with the significant difference in offensive yardage. We'd be good. A lot of PFF money on Tennessee, so that's one that I don't mind. And then Arkansas, Ole Miss I want to look at because Arkansas has kind of jumped onto my radar since one of our good friends is a big Arkansas fan. So Arkansas, Ole Miss, this is a game, I think the majority of the money, like 60-65% is on Ole Miss right now. PFF has Arkansas would be a 4 to 4.5 point favorite. Algo line has Ole Miss by 5, but again, the schedules are what I want to look at here. So we kind of know both of these teams got their ass whooped last week. Ole Miss played Alabama, Arkansas played Georgia, and they both realized that they were not going to compete at that level. Yardage-wise, Ole Miss is putting up over 100 more yards per game, and then defensively, Arkansas is allowing about 100 less yards per game. So on paper, this looks like it would be a good matchup. Cheat line, we've got it 27-26, so we got it a tight game. I think Arkansas is getting 6.5. It's 5.5 now. I bet it at 6.5, and then I bet money line at plus 185, and parlayed some other money lines with it just to have fun. Skew line, we've got it 30-29, so we've got it pretty close. PFF, Algo, we both have it kind of in the spread. The PFF one, having Arkansas favored by 4, is one that kind of jumps out at me. But what really jumped out at me in this game is Ole Miss. And let me see, I think they're listed on here as Mississippi. So I wanted to go back and look at their games because when you look at this, you see 522 yards. That's 138 yards above average. That's significant. Now, we know Arkansas they have not played, or they've played a really tough schedule, and they've done really well. Ole Miss is the one I'm not familiar with. I haven't followed them a lot, so I wanted to go take a look. But Alabama, they lost 42-21. Yeah, that's fine. They were getting killed and got a couple mercy touchdowns. Tulane's a nobody. They put up 54 points against them. Austin Peay, 54 points. Louisville, the first week, they're a decent team, but I think a lot of their stats come from Austin Peay and Tulane, who aren't very good. So they dropped 54 points twice. I think that's skewing a lot of their numbers, and then they got shut down by Alabama. So I think Arkansas is going to hang in this game, and they could even possibly win. This is one of the games I'm most excited about to see tomorrow, and it looks like it is going to be on ESPN first thing. So I like that one. So let me go ahead and make a circle there. And even if you wanted to do some type of teaser and put Tennessee, tease it down, and Arkansas, tease it up. I mean, Arkansas is getting anywhere from 5.5 to 6.5. And if you put it on a 10-pointer, I mean, you could get 15.5 or 16.5 with that defense. I love that. Again, you got to be careful with college. Another one is Georgia Tech and Duke. Let me take a look. I don't know if I even want to mess with that game. So I'm trying to show you guys kind of how I put the games in the sheet, what I look at. So PFF has G-Tech -2. We got -4. Cheatline has 3. So everything's kind of in the same ballpark. Significant different strength of schedule played. So come down here to the skew test. We got roughly 30-21. And line on this game's G-Tech -4. Offensive yards, Duke's putting up a ton on weaker opponents, but they're also giving up a bunch of yards. Ton of money on G-Tech on PFF. I don't have a preference in this game. There's nothing that really jumps out at me. I would probably lean G-Tech, but again, I'm not high on them by any means. But let's take a look for fun. So Georgia, Georgia State, Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech right here, we've got... They lost to Pittsburgh 52-21. They beat North Carolina 35-22 as a 14-point dog. But then they lost to Clemson 14-8, but they were a 28-point dog. Nothing jumps out at me. I'm going to pass on this game. Again, if you like it, PFF has a ton of money, cash money on G-Tech. Then let's go take a look at the next game on the list, Old Dominion and Marshall. This is one I earmarked earlier, and then I saw it come up on PFF. Marshall's -21. PFF has 10. We have 23. Significant schedule of strength differences, so that means you would want to dig into it a little more. Offensively, I mean, Marshall's putting up 200 more offensive yards per game. They're giving up another 100 defensively, but Marshall, I would easily say, is a 150-point yard edge here. So this is a game I'd want to look into. If this line was 10 or 12, yeah, I'd be Marshall all day, but something that's 21, that's pretty significant. So let's take a look. We're already on the M, so we'll go ahead and start with Marshall first. So we got Marshall right here. So Middle Tennessee, they lost 34-28. Appalachian State, they lost 31-30. East Carolina, 42-38. So they're putting up a lot of yards, but man, they're giving up a lot of yards to kind of so-so schools. I know Appalachian State and Middle Tennessee have good offenses. They can put up a bunch of yards, but laying 21's a little scary with them. Let's see what Old Dominion. So Old Dominion, let me see. They lost to UTEP. They put up 21 on UTEP, 34 on Buffalo, which Buffalo has a decent defense for that conference. Liberty, they put up 17. I'm probably going to pass here. Nothing's really jumping out at me. I mean, if Old Dominion can put up 21 on UTEP and then 34 on Buffalo and 17 on Liberty, I don't really have faith for Marshall to hang 3 additional touchdowns. They very well could, but not a game that I want to go with. And with so many on the board, it's not something that jumps out at me. And then BYU Boise State. I saw a lot of people in the chat talking about this game, and so when it popped up on PFF today with a significant amount of money. It's one I wanted to earmark and look at when we did the video. So this line is BYU -6 at home. And then so PFF has BYU -10. We've got it at 6. Cheat line has it fairly tight. The SOS, a significant difference, so we'd want to look into it a little bit more. Offensive yardage, both teams doing good. Defensively, about the same. They're in the same ballpark. BYU 5-0 +9. Boise State 2-3 +9. So let's take a look at these two. They're both B's, so this will be easy to find. Let's go up here. So Boise State, they played Nevada, lost 41-31. They beat Utah State. Oklahoma State, they played a good game, lost 21-20. UTEP rolled them 54-13. So they've been decent. I mean, Nevada, Utah State, Oklahoma State, we got some decent matchups in there. Let's look at BYU. So BYU, they also played Utah State and beat them 34-20. South Florida 35-27. Arizona State 27-17. Utah 26-17. So yeah, I'd say you could probably lay the 6 here with BYU at home. I don't mind that at all. So BYU just played Utah State, beat them 34-20. And then Boise State beat them 27-3. So that's kind of a flag when you have common opponents. I want to see how they do against each one. A lot of money on BYU, so I don't mind that. Again, not my favorite. One thing that does alarm me here is Boise State is putting up 300 passing yards per game. So usually the teams that are really good running teams against running defense can get stopped. But when you're a really strong passing team, you're usually going to move the ball regardless of the defense you're playing. And BYU's given up the 86th most rushing yards per game. So -6, I don't mind. I mean, PFF is usually very conservative. They've got 10. So I could see it. We've got it at 6. I mean, I think that game's going to be, pretty close. It's going to be probably BYU winning by somewhere between 7 and 10. It is by far a lock, but it's one that you can definitely look at. And then the 7th game I want to look at is North Texas and Mizzou. This I didn't even have earmarked. And then there's a lot of money coming in on Mizzou. Mizzou's -19. Yardage wise, I don't know, man. 20 points, that seems like a lot. But North Texas, my God, Missouri should be able to roll this game. So let's look at Missouri. So they got crushed by Tennessee. Boston College, they got beat by Southeast Missouri State. They gave up 28 points to Kentucky. Lost by a touchdown. So they're giving up a lot of points. The 28 points to Southeast Missouri worries me a little bit. And then North Texas, let's take a look at them. We're already at the ends. North Carolina State, North Texas. So they played La Tech, UAB, SMU. Yeah, Missouri should get this. I'm going to mark that one. I don't mind that. Missouri -19. I'm definitely not going to tease it because that's a game I could definitely see going another way. I mean, they're giving up 531 yards on defense. But again, Missouri is such a much bigger school. They should get away with this. And then Alabama and A&M is just blowing up. There's so much money pouring in on Alabama. And after last week, I mean, why wouldn't they? So here we got Alabama -20 for PFF. We got -18. SOS skew, we've got it at 21. And Alabama's laying 18, so that's kind of in there. One thing that jumps out at me right here is this YPP. So your basic yard per point, Alabama's running about 10.5 yards per point, which is really good. I mean, that's at an elite level. Texas A&M 16.1, that's below league average, so they're struggling. And then we have our custom little skew based on offense, defense, rush, pass. So Alabama, they're going to be able to maintain their 10.5. We don't see any issues with that. A&M's going to struggle, so we're going to put them down to 20.1. So we have a significant difference here. And then you can see as far as offensive yards, Alabama's about 100 yards better on offense. And then defensively, both teams are about the same in the same boat. So even, however you sit at the gaps, 100, 150 yards when you rank the offenses versus defenses. And Alabama, let's go look at them real quick. Sorry, I've got a migraine headache, and I know I don't sound too enthusiastic right now. So they beat Mississippi 42-21, Southern Miss 63-14, Florida 31-29, and then rolled two prior games. So ton of money coming in on Alabama. I don't mind teasing it down from, what did we say, it was 18 down to -8. But if you want to lay it, I mean, that shouldn't be any issue there. Those are the main games I wanted to look at on the sheet. So not a ton I love. So just to recap, I don't mind Toledo, Tennessee. I really like Arkansas. Marshall, so-so. Don't mind BYU. Don't mind Mizzou. Some of the other games I'm probably going to pass on and stick with the ones that I really like. And if you're just curious, I'll just go ahead and show you what the point-wise sheet has. So their plays, where'd we go? That's NFL. So their college top games, Georgia over Auburn. Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of people. Their other number one rated play was Alabama. Oh, they actually have BYU as their number 2 rated play, so we didn't mind it. So if you want to lay BYU -6, that's fine. We didn't look at this game. Houston over Tulane. They played last night. I believe Houston covered that. Illinois, New Mexico State. I don't have an opinion on these 3 games. But anyways, sorry I feel like crap, guys, but I wanted to get some plays and look at some games out here. One game that I do like, let me look at one more thing real quick, is it just caught my eye. I earmarked this earlier, in Michigan and Nebraska. So I like Michigan here. They're only -3, but they are on the road. PFF has a -10. We got a -12. And then even if you look over here at the skew line, we still have them, winning by 9. So I like Michigan over Nebraska. Let me flip down some of these other games, see if there's anything else that jumps out at me. Penn State and Iowa's getting a lot of attention. Let's look at that one. So a lot of money on Penn State. PFF has Iowa -3. We've got Penn State -1. I think this will be a defensive game. I'd probably bet the under, if anything. UMass, UConn, that's a pillow fight battle. Flipping through here, don't really see anything else. So I'm going to go check what the Florida first half line is. But anyways, I'm going to move on, start the NFL fantasy football video after I get some food. But good luck, guys.